What's going on, everybody? Andrew here. Welcome to my laptop screen. I am excited to be sharing this new resource with you guys as we look forward to 2018 and start to implement our karate curriculum for artistic growth and development. We realize that there are some questions that still need answering before you, the mentors, can really implement this model with success and fidelity and feel equipped to do so. So we want to answer questions like, how often should I be testing my kids? Like, how do I know if a student has passed his or her karate test? And of course, the dreaded question, what do I do if by chance I have a kid who has failed or not passed their karate assessment? And that's going to happen, and it's okay. And what's important is that you have the resources and the skill necessary to create a plan with that student so that they can succeed next time and move forward positively, even though a less than positive outcome has happened. So this will be a two-part video. The first is breaking down things to think about before, during, and after wristband testing. And the second page and the second part of the video is a set of things to consider when following up with students who have not passed their belt test. So I'm going to start with the guide to karate and to assessment. And I'm going to start with the during section and then move up to before, because once you know what happens during, I feel like it'll be easier to determine some of the things you need to think about before testing. So it's important to remember that during band testing, students are demonstrating their skills through song. So keep in mind that every belt test is the performance of a song that contains the tested skill in context. So it's important to remember that if you're a singer who needs to demonstrate knowledge of the notes in the major scale, your karate assessment will not be singing the notes of the major scale with your mentor. It will be singing a song like Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran, which contains the notes of the major scale, so that you can demonstrate that not only do you understand the skill, but you understand it in context of performance. And so when you're listening to a student's test and listening to them perform that song, you're listening for three major categories, and these are all listed as well on page 1 of each student's karate booklet. You're listening for, is the student maintaining a steady beat, which means keeping with the tempo. You're listening for, is the student performing the correct rhythms, strum patterns if they're playing guitar, notes and lyrics if they're singing or rapping. And you're listening for, is the student demonstrating stylistic expression or performance skills. Now, you guys as mentors, we trust that you understand and know what these things mean, and that you're teaching these either explicitly or implicitly to your kids each day. And so we trust you to be excellent judges of whether or not this is happening in the context of the song that you and the kids or you have chosen. But we're setting the bar that in order to pass a karate assessment, students should complete standards 1 and 2, so the tempo and the performance accuracy, at a rate of at least 80% or higher. And standard 3, again, using your judgment, should be improved or maintained from that student's previous tests. So, we want to accommodate for students who aren't natural-born performers, and it may take some time for them to develop those skills, and that's part of the reason why you're there. But we trust that you'll be able to assess during the performance assessment if the student is keeping with the tempo about 80% of the time, and if the student is performing with accurate rhythms, strum patterns, notes, and lyrics at a rate of 80% or better. Now, knowing that you need to keep these things in mind while students are testing, these are the things to think about beforehand. And again, since you'll have to listen for these big three things, it's important that you put yourself in an environment where you can really do that. And so before testing, it's important that you determine what the size and frequency of your assessment days are going to look like, meaning how often are kids going to be assessed and how many kids will be assessed at a time. If you can only really listen for these three things in one person at a time, it's important that you assess one-on-one. If you are able to be sweeping and check out your mentor group all at one time, then it is appropriate that all of your mentors, or mentees rather, might be performing at the same time. But it's important to determine what's the size and frequency going to be so that I can listen for these three things and assess appropriately. Second thing you're going to determine is setting. Will your students earn their wristbands by performing in front of their peers, by performing one-on-one with their mentors, by performing completely solo, maybe with a GOGO backing band? You're going to want to determine the setting, set that expectation, and maintain it so that kids know what to expect and how to succeed. And finally, knowing the criteria and knowing that it's important that students demonstrate the skills through song, it's important to determine what your rationale is going to be, meaning how you're going to share the importance of this process with your kids. And my suggestion is to come up with two reasons. For example, the ones that I give here is that it gives kids a regular opportunity to perform a song that they love in front of their mentor, and it gives them a visual reminder, meaning the wristband, of what skills they've accomplished and what they will be working on next. And so usually things like this are motivation enough for kids to want to perform, but we trust that you can come up with a rationale that is authentic and successful for you, for your students at your school site, etc. So those are the three things to consider before testing. And then after testing, once you've considered the size and frequency, the setting, the rationale, and you've listened for these big three things, you'll determine that the student has either earned his or her band, and you'll present them with the appropriate color, and hopefully have a conversation with the student around their performance, what went well, what challenges they faced, and what comes next. And then there's the world also where maybe the student does not earn their band. And that's where the details on the next page come in handy. So it's important to think and remember, too, that students tend to know when they do well and when they don't do their best. And so if a student doesn't pass their wristband test, only on a very rare occasion will it actually be a surprise to them. So it's important that we as mentors don't sugarcoat, don't butter them up, but always make your first interaction positive. Doesn't mean you should lie about the things that didn't go well, but you should start by commenting on the student's effort, which will most likely be positive. The student's maybe growth from their last level or their last performance, and just give them their kudos on the courage that it takes to perform, because the truth is 80% of their peers won't even perform in public or won't even perform in front of an adult. It takes a lot to be able to do that, and students should be recognized for that. After you've made your first interaction positive, it's important that you ask the student how they felt about the performance. And again, students know when they've done well and when they've not done their best or when they've not met the bar. And so only on very, very rare occasions will you catch a student who really bombed and has no idea. But ask them which moments they felt particularly good about. Ask them which moments could maybe have used more practice or more of their attention. And then let the student know that for some of the reasons they've pointed out, and others, if you have them, that they won't be earning their wristband today. And then immediately after that, it's important that you commit to supporting the student through the process of trying again. Remind the student that your commitment is to supporting him or her in the future, Let them know that they can test as many times as they want or as they need to earn the wristband that they're going for. And start to brainstorm with them some strategies that they can use to improve their performance for next time. And agree on a plan of action. And really, the most important thing you can do is set a date for retesting before you leave that place that day. Ask the student what they think their deadline should be given the plan of action that you've created. So if your plan of action is to write new lyrics or to practice their performance skills or to practice a certain section of a song, ask them how long that's going to take them. Ask them when they think they'll be ready to test again. The point is there should be a retest date set on the way out the door because it's critical for accountability. And as always, it's important that you reaffirm your belief in that student and leave with hope. Leave knowing that just because they didn't pass today doesn't mean that they're not going to pass. Leave knowing that it's possible. So, these are all the things to consider. As always, please leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment box. Jono, Ted, and I are here for you if you need us, and we're looking forward to rolling this out. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.